What is going on, YouTube? So I wanted to come back today with another video about Big 12 expansion. So I talked about Big 12 expansion in a video like a week ago, so I'm not going to go as in depth or talk about that again. There's two things I wanted to talk about in this video, and obviously you can probably see them in the title. One is an article that I actually just got published. It's my first article ever getting published, with really my first actual sports writing job. Just see if it's a cool thing to do for me. If you want to see that, it's about Big 12 expansion, a deeper look at it. I'll link it below. If you guys looked at it, go checked it out, gave it a comment. That'd be really cool. Help me out a little bit. Anyway, also I wanted to talk about Utah State as a potential sleeper as a Big 12 as a Big 12 expansion candidate. So I mentioned in my Big 12 expansion rankings for best options Utah State. Utah State has not been an option discussed at all when it comes to Big 12 expansion, really. A few people, if you look through like Twitter feeds, if you look up like Utah State Big 12 expansion, then you might find a few people talking about it. Now you might ask yourself why Utah State athletic program not great, kind of a weird location for the Big 12, not prime athletic funding or brand name either. Academics not really anything to brag about either. Not saying it's a bad school athletically, but it's not really a huge drawing point for them either. Here's my take on the whole situation. Even if you add two teams, BYU seems like the best option at this point. I know some people think no because it might be a little far. Sorry about this, I've been really sick the last couple of days. But Utah State would make perfect sense to add if you add BYU and a 14 team and turn it into a 14-team conference. If you can't manage to pull, Cincinnati or Houston, you can pull Utah State and you immediately give BYU a geographical rival. You make a North Division that makes a lot of sense. And you invest in a Utah State team that's been really low-key good over the last 4 or 5 seasons. 2 10-win seasons, 4 bowl wins in the last 5 years, including one 11-win season where they finished number 16 overall. They've been a quality football program this decade. They've been one of the better non-Power 5 programs, and it's been sneaky. I think it'd be really interesting if you could manage to turn a 3-team, or maybe a 3-team, get a 3-team poll of expansion candidates that include Colorado State, Utah State, and BYU. Geographically, it makes perfect sense. You attach those to Kansas and Kansas State, and you've got a perfect line right above the Oklahomas of Big 12 teams. You pull Colorado back into it. Colorado State's a very interesting option just because of the amount of Big 12 alumni in Colorado, from Colorado back in the day. Now, I've mentioned Colorado State because Colorado State is not a great athletic program. I honestly think that Utah State is a little bit better option than Colorado State. Utah State has been predominantly better over the last 5 years in football than Colorado State. The rest of their athletic programs, I'll say Colorado State has the edge in basketball, and then I'm not really familiar with either of the baseball teams. Neither of them are really big brand names in baseball, or even regulars in the College World Series or even regionals. So if you manage to pull Colorado State, Utah State, and BYU, that would form what would be a 14-team North Division if you also pulled Boise State or Cincinnati. I think at that point Boise State would be the best option, just geographically still makes the most sense. I'm sorry, West Virginia, you'd still be alone, but I mentioned in my other video that in my opinion, the best pull would be if you're able to pull BYU, Houston, Boise State, and Cincinnati. It's just the perfect mix for basketball and football. Because let's be honest here, you split up into North and South divisions, you got to keep. You figure you got to keep Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and Texas and TCU all in the same division, and Texas Tech, because that's where the primary rivals are. You got to keep Kansas and Kansas State together for basketball rivalry, you feel like. And I mean, there's been, in basketball, you still probably get at least one game against every team. And in football, you add Boise State, maybe not because of the geographical location, or because of the TV market, 109th largest TV market in the country. You're not pulling anything there really. It's not like adding like a Memphis or a UCF or a USF where you get like some of the top 20 biggest TV markets in the country. Memphis would probably be like top 30 or top 40. But either way, you don't get that. What you get is an unbelievably competitive college football program for what you get out of the Group of Five. You might get the best Group of Five program that there is. I wouldn't say right now because that's probably Houston, just the highest ranked, but over the last 15 years and looking into the future, Boise State is the most quality and most prestigious Group of Five college football program. I'm not really including independents in that one, obviously. Notre Dame and BYU trump them, but you need to add some competitiveness to that North Division because listen to the teams. You add a North Division with my candidates that I wanted. You get a North Division of BYU, Boise State, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Kansas State, I believe that's it, and West Virginia. Compared to the South, where you got OU, Oklahoma State, and then the, 5 Texas schools if you add Houston also, which for football is just unbelievably good. One of the best divisions in the country, maybe barring like the SEC West and the Big Ten East. So, and at this point, the Pac-12 North, but it'd be competitive. So if you get those division alignments, you get basketball competitiveness in the North like crazy because you had Cincinnati and BYU, which are both good basketball programs. I mean, Cincinnati more than BYU, and then you keep Kansas in there and Iowa State and West Virginia. In the South, you still get competitive basketball programs with OU, Texas to some degree. Baylor's been good. Oklahoma State traditionally is good. That's all I can think off the top of my head. TCU, Texas Tech, not really. Houston, not really either. But the football makes up for that. So like I said, Utah State, sleeper candidate. Watch out for them. They haven't been mentioned. I think they should be. Tulane's been mentioned. Man, East Carolina's been mentioned. Tulane and East Carolina compared to Utah State? Come on, get a little bit more real with it. I understand Louisiana, you draw in because of the Texas-Louisiana thing, but Texas A&M's gone. They were the closest there. Houston, maybe. But if you add any team from Louisiana, only LSU, but LSU's not leaving the SEC, let's face it. And imagine if you could pull Colorado out of the Pac-12, what that'd be able to do. If you're able to add Colorado State, Utah State, and BYU. Granted, not the most powerful football programs, but all Power 5 capable and geographically makes sense. And just, it gives you a whole new dynamic that you wouldn't have expected with the geographically right now, Big 12 expansion just doesn't look consistent. And that would be obviously completely consistent with 2 bordering state schools that are all within, I'm pretty sure, 4 to 6 hours of each other. I'd say 6 max. And then obviously Utah's quite a ways from like a Texas school, or especially West Virginia and Iowa State, but it gets further. I mean, Florida. I mentioned Idaho, obviously that's far. Cincinnati. Anyway, I've gone on for way longer than I planned to. Like I said, if you want to go check out the article I wrote, it's a very in-depth look at Big 12 expansion. It's one of the more in-depth looks you're going to get. It kind of reiterates what I was talking about in my main Big 12 expansion video where I talked about the division alignments and then the best 10 candidates. And then I also talk about the backstory to Big 12 expansion. So there's a lot of information and a lot of detail in it. Like I said, if you really want to know the entire story about it, I think I outlined it very well. But anyway, that's pretty much it. So yeah.